House now comes to questions for oral answer, and the first question stands in the name of the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This question is to the Prime Minister and asks, does he stand by his statement that, and I quote him, the government has actively supported the filming of the Hobbit movies in New Zealand because of the enormous economic benefits that they are bringing to the country, including the creation of around 3,000 jobs, unquote?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, before I begin, can I wish you the best for your final question time? I'm sure you're back in London with warm memories of these times. The answer to the member's question is yes.
The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
How and when did he first learn of the 3,000 job figure?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I can't give the member the exact date, don't have it with me, but I'm advised by the business manager, I think it is, of Peter Jackson, that is broadly the number directly involved. But of course there are many, many other businesses and people who are employed as a result of it. I point out to the member that the Hobbit production team alone booked 6,750 domestic flights, slept in 93,000 bed nights in terms of hotels, paid for 1,800 rental cars, 1,650 work vehicles, $9 million on construction and $1.5 million on food.
The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
How easy these toads are fooled, eh? Supplementary question. Why was there no Treasury report substantiating the 3,000 job figure and verifying the economic benefits of a $67 million handout to Warner Brothers?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, because one wasn't required. I mean, if the member was aware of the large budget grant scheme, he'll know that it's paid as essentially a percentage of the qualifying expenditure. So by definition, if these sums are paid to Warner Brothers, it's because that expenditure is undertaken in New Zealand. And if by definition that expenditure wasn't undertaken in New Zealand, of course we wouldn't pay it and we wouldn't get all of the economic activity. I might point out also to the member, if he just wants to go and have a look, for instance, at Air New Zealand, its website visitors visitation were up 73% in the US this year.
Order, I appreciate the member's concern. He asked a question.
Speaker, my question is, why was there no Treasury report? Pretty simple. And I do not want to hear a long tirade about what didn't happen.
Order. Well, actually, the Prime Minister did answer that. He said the reason why a report wasn't made is that it wasn't required. And that is an answer. The right point of order.
You are right. He asked the question, then it kept on going, vituperating on nothing. That's my point.
No, I appreciate the member's point that the Prime Minister did go on unnecessarily long when the question was a fairly simple question. The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
The question, why was he prepared to give Warner Brothers $67 million of taxpayers' money, yet couldn't stump up an extra $6 million so Kiwi rail wagons could be built in New Zealand instead of China to save the Dunedin Hillside workshop jobs?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, the different issues in terms of Warner Brothers, that was part of the large budget film grant scheme, and that was the scheme that essentially was a repayment of expenditure here, as we've already pointed out. There were around 3,000 jobs directly on the Hobbits alone, plus all of the other ancillary benefits in terms of Kiwi Rail. The long-term model didn't actually support those jobs at Hillside.
The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
When he used the figure of 3,000 jobs, did he mean jobs for overseas actors, casual work for a few weeks, or serious jobs for New Zealanders? And did he have reliable information as to the status of the jobs?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there would of course been a wide range of jobs, but it's interesting to note actually the screen industry in New Zealand supports over 2,700 businesses. There were 15,500 people employed, and so there'd be a range.
Order. The question was a pretty straightforward question, and the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Is it not the case that the 3,000 jobs were like the computer-generated armies in Lord of the Rings? Pure fantasy.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, no, they were real jobs, probably unlike the unreal caucus of New Zealand First, which has had one of its members AWOL.
Point of order. A point of order has been called. The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Now, Mr. Speaker,
order.
You would not like your last day in this job to be remembered for that sort of intemperate behaviour from the Prime Minister.
Order. Members may recollect I'm on my feet. And the member, the Right Honourable gentleman may reflect back on the question he asked, that it was always going to provoke a fairly strong answer. Question number 2, the Leader of